Good evening. Ha! Welcome to another old session from the Wise Asylum. Oh, it's all going down, isn't it? That second horse, it's jumped a few hurdles now. It's well on the way. Good grief. Obviously, we're not going to dwell on that because it's coming out of every orifice. But we'll just have a little dip into it and see what's afoot going down there in La La Land. And it is La La Land. Oh, wow. I mean, the stuff that's coming out, the crying, the moaning, the bitching, it's quite ridiculous, really. I'm pretty sure you're all sick to the teeth of it, but it's on, game on, it's all going down, everybody's crying, everybody wants everybody to join the gang, whichever gang you choose. You've got loads and loads of protests going on in London. I don't know what the heck you think that's going to achieve. Absolutely nothing. But if the plan all along was to divide the nation on a division that would never have existed if you hadn't have actually had mass immigration, it's definitely working. It's working a treat, in fact. So, or at least that's what they're trying to do. But whether it goes that way or not, I don't know. But it's all going down, and they're trying to kick it off everywhere like these old-fashioned colour revolutions. But obviously, well, it is colour revolution again, and it's flags. It's all about the flags. You can't use that flag. I'm taking it away from you. You naughty and such. Don't wear flags. Yeah, it's easy, really. Like I used to say to Palestinians, don't throw stones. Don't throw stones when there's a load of guys over there on wall with guns. It's silly. It's not a good idea. It doesn't matter which way you look at it. You know, like I said, there's no sides to be had. It's just two bunch of folks having it. And they've been having it for a long time, but now they've really decided to have it. And it's looking like it might just get a little bit up there and noisy. I still don't understand why it has to affect everybody over here. I mean, I don't care what goes on in Blackburn, and that's only 5 miles away. So, is it in my interest to care what's going on over there? Not really. But them that count that childcare Westminster, they're getting excited about it. They're thinking it's exceptionally important that we all get excited. We call each other names, but more importantly, call each other names here. They don't really not bother about it. They want you to call yourself everybody names here. Fall out, get to either side of the yard, British Bulldog. It's that kind of gig, isn't it? It's like, ooh, are we that stupid? Well, quite possibly. But never mind, we'll have to wait and see, I suppose. We'll have to wait and see. We never know what they're up to or what they're going to do next. But it doesn't look the best of things, in truth. So I put it down and just say, you know, this is basically the truth of it in any war that ever goes on, anytime, ever. You know, that's pretty much the reality of it. Everything else is the theatre, the la-la, the hoorah Henry. We're going to kick their heads in because we don't like them anymore. And vice versa. It's one of them. But stuck in the middle. It's all them folks. However, we do get told, do we not, that we deserve or get the government we get the government we deserve. Because, of course, both camps, if you look at it that way, there's enough mindset on the left to keep the government that they've got playing out a big proportion of the will on that side. And on the other side, again, the government are basically just referencing a big part of the mentality in that nation. So, look at it that way, it's obvious, like attracts like, bang, it's going to blow. I mean, everybody's running onto history of it all, etc. But again, that's the map game, isn't it? You need to get on the territory, like, okay, that's how it happened, not very good. But none of them folk are alive today, or very few. What are we going to do about it? Because now we're living here, we have to deal. But no, it's far easier to drag all the ancient history back and blah-de-blah, and oh, well, you spat on me first and I'm going to tell me dad. And it just gets to this, because especially when little boys build terrible toys. Oh, we've been good at that, haven't we? For quite a long time over there in the old industrial West. So, unfortunately, we're all pretty much to blame in one way or another. You know, it's there, it exists. Do we do anything about it? Not particularly, no, we don't. We might shout a bit at telly and such, but very few people actually get stuck in. And then them that try and get stuck in join politics. And then that's game over completely, isn't it? If the whip says you've got to do this, You've got to do that. Even though you voted him in, once they get in there, it's something else. It's a completely different game, agenda, different leaders, different rules, and a different... this is what we're going to do, not what you said you were going to do. So, finger to the people. No agreement. Agreement gone. We don't have a new agreement with the cabinet and the whips. Like the councillors are no longer on the agreement that you gave them with the power of attorney. That agreement's off, and a new agreement with the executive. So, you know, this is the end result. Nobody takes part. People start... And this is the kind of thing that goes on. And it's going on over there. But they're going to try and damn hard to make sure it goes on everywhere. That gives them absolute control, does it not? All these soldiers can activate, all be on the street, your checkpoints, you're back to Great Escape. Show me your papers and all that malarkey. And you can see it. However, Australia, what a bunch of good uns. I've proper slapped it right in the face. So for all the wind and piss that's going on, if we're truthful about it, this year hasn't been very good for the man, Mr. Klaus. It's not gone very well for him, but he's trying. He's trying his best to give him his due, because he's now ordered governments to make viewing alternative media a criminal offence. So they're really pushing for the censorship, aren't they? Which is what they agreed on in these various meetings they've had this year. So they've kicked this off. They know that a lot of truth's going to come out. They're crying their eyeballs out at Twitter. They're crying their eyeballs out at Faceache. And there we are. Commencement of the censorship, I would presume. So there he is. He's in all his glory, looking rather sad. Why is he looking rather sad? Oh, because it's transition period, this, of course. It's only a transition period. They haven't really got stuck in yet. There's some weird stuff going on, because we've also got this, which is a bit bizarre, but then it's all a bit bizarre. Pope Francis declares Klaus Schwab is more important than Jesus Christ. So, who's that going to wash away, I wonder? Who's that aimed at? It's a bit strange, and he doesn't look very well there, does he? And them teeth, them peggies need a bit of a clean, I have to say. It looks like he did 90s on there, and he does with eyeballs. Look at that. Has he been smacked in the eyes or something? Has he been slapped about a bit? That's a hell of a chin going down there as well. So, yeah, Klaus Schwab is more important than Jesus Christ, says the Pope of Rome. It's hard to believe that this is actually all going on when they think about what it were 30, 40 years ago. It's a Muppet show, isn't it? It's absolute infantile, beyond belief, and how anybody can follow it and go with it or copy it. It's just beyond my comprehension, to be fair. Completely and utterly beyond my comprehension. I don't know. It's like, what in the world? So, where are we now? Yeah. So, these guys have got excited. And the media in Iran are claiming that 2.4 million Iranians have volunteered to fight for Palestine. There you go. Now, is that just wind and piss, fluff, or is this the one? Is this... I mean, I still think something would have to trigger it fully, and that would be something to do with the Alaska Mosque, which appears is what already triggered it. But so 2.4 million Iranians have volunteered to fight for Palestine. So that could get rather interesting. And what's the old trumpet have to say about all this malarkey? Old Donaldo there, he says, Trump calls for anti-Israel leftist groups to be banned from American universities. So, on the one hand, all through this crying from 2015 is done about how he's not being given a chance, he's being pushed out of everything, it's a witch hunt, etc. He now wants to lord over his opposition. So, that old adage, isn't it? You know, be careful what you fight, because you may become it. Could just be showing itself a little bit there. It looks like he wants to do to his enemy what they did to him. Well, no, if you're on truth, if you're on the right thing, you don't really need to do that. You just need to keep pushing the truth and hope that people do snap out with these horses that are coming on and start to see that somebody's actually talking the truth. So I thought that was a little bit odd and worth putting up, because, you know, it's sort of as ridiculous as this so-called leftist ideology, the socialist side of things has been. You know, you look at Jordan Peterson, you've got that Ben Shapiro. As I said a few months ago about, you know, they're very intelligent people. But where do they stand in their hearts in relation to the religious things? And I prompted a couple of exchanges with Peterson, and he just wouldn't take me on at all. Well, now we can see it. I mean, some of the stuff I've seen on the old Twitter that coming from both of them is absolutely outrageous. It's how they're not getting flagged for racism, for hate speech, and all that, considering the WEF and Superman Klaus are pushing for censorship. It's like, how come these guys get to say that? What's different? Well, so I had a look, and yeah, there's difference. And the little Shapiro, see, now they seem to have had a break from actually debating spotty 16-year-old students that don't know their ass from their elbow and winning, and then looking even more fantastic. Now they're in the big arena. It's like, well, hang on a minute, boys and girls. You know what I'm saying? You're a dick, basically. But Ben Shapiro recorded when he thought it had gone off, pretty much saying, "Oh, he's all right. It doesn't matter because he's in. He's not going to get censored." So there's the game, folks. One side there's all the toys, and they're trying to take all the toys off everybody else. So there's only one narrative, which I find rather concerning. It's not the best. So local politics here in the old Blighty. We got a bit of a glimpse as to what this whole Labour bunch might get up to. Because, of course, one of them grandees were a big pusher of sex with children. I can't remember her name, my fan, but she was a member of this particular organisation way before she even entered politics, I think. And I forgot her name, and I don't want to say it just in case it's the wrong one. And it says, deliberately calling someone by the wrong gender pronouns may land you in jail for 2 years under Labour. So they built all these big prisons. So now are they creeping with that covenant that we looked at last week for persons? I mean, you should remember some of them are 14 years and then some life sentences there. So, I mean, is this kicking in here? As the method by which they can just come round your house and whisk you away? The jackboot scenario. You know, is that what they're actually setting up now with these ridiculous acts? It's quite outrageous. And it just adds Labour would make attacks motivated by hatred of gender aggravated offences. So, yeah, that's a bit not very good, isn't it? It's a bit rubbish, I have to say. And, this boy's back in the mix. He's been very naughty, again. Apparently, he works for a US biotech firm called Illumina. And he contacted Matt Hancock, because of course he's bullying the boy, weren't he, with Boris, for a contract through the PPE lane. Illumina were given a $123 million NHS contract without any checks. I'll bet he got a slap on the back and on the bottom for that, let's say. I would think so. But he did good for the company. And called upon his mateos, and they went with it. So that's a little bit naughty too. Anyway, that's the end of our dip into La Land. And I thought we'd start off with something absolutely amazing and fantastic, because, so this for me this afternoon. So I've just climbed down Everest. This is coming down from summit. Look at that beauty. That's high stuff in it. That's high. And so I will be out camera. I'm cameraman, of course. And I got back about 6:30. Only thing where I should have worn my Nike trainers instead of my Adidas because it just got a little bit cold on feet. But anyway, yeah, I was down there. Then I flew back and just in time for live stream. So I thought we'd have a look at just how beautiful that scenery is at the top of the world. By golly. Now I'm going to turn it off because it's just being a little bit greedy, is because it's now if you want to expand on the old boy David Cameron, because he has a very interesting political career, especially when he was Thatcher's lapdog, and he did a lot of stuff for Thatcher back in the day, and this gives you an excellent insight into the kind of games that were going on back then with, you remember the big super gun that Iraq supposedly had and all this malarkey. Well, he were thick in it. South Africa gets dragged into it because, of course, at the same time it's been decided that the white rule is going to end and the whole nation is going to be handed over to Nelson Mandela. There's the so-called Iraqi super gun project. I remember all this stuff. These are the guys that were in it: Peter Lilly, Kenneth Clark, Esseltine, Rifkin, I can't remember his name, Alan Clark. All these old faces involved. And this fella, the Cameroon. And that's very interesting data on this fella because he met at Mel's Park House in Somerset in the summer of 1989, which was a series of conferences, 3 of which were attended by Nelson Mandela, direct from Robben Island, before he had been released from prison. So it is previously obvious Mandela was in on the game well before he became president. And of course the fact he borrowed $5 billion for arms as one of the first actions he took when president suggests the deal was made during the conference in Somerset. I mean, I still say, I very much doubt he spent a day in Robben Island, in fairness. Big player, no different than anything else, and as in it as you can get. And it goes through quite a lot of different subject matter, you know, some of these old arb dealers that were going down. I even think, who's it gets dragged in somewhere? Al-Fayed, if I remember rightly. You've got Geoffrey Howe, you've got William Waldegrave, Michael Esseltine, Peter Lilly. These were classed as the bad boys of this old nuclear shenanigans. Missing nuclear weapons, it turns out. Viscount Christopher Monckton gets dragged in. I don't know whether you remember him. He was a bit of a celebrity for a while, tied in with UKIP, etc. And then, of course, you've got the death of David Kelly. And the death of this guy, Stephen Dretsch, who was in South Africa when the weapons were being removed. Now, this guy ended up getting knocked off, if I remember rightly. Very interesting dig if you want to just brace yourself with who David Cameron really is. And you know, the guy's no numpty. The guy certainly played his part in politics very well back in the day for old Maggie. So let's see who's on, who's joined us tonight. Because tonight we're going to just do Mythos. That's enough La La Land, that's enough of the misery. So I can have a Jack and Norris thing. I've put together some. So it's basically Gnostic stuff. It's the backdrop. So you can, once you start to see this stuff, because this is what your secret societies are dealing with basically. It's interesting because you can start to see where such as L. Ron Hubbard came up with his theology for Scientology. It gives you a bigger idea of where all this stuff comes from, but amalgamates it into a story rather as it is today. You would perceive, oh, that belongs to, that's their story. That it's not. It's all one big tale of different entities and in ages that have lived here and ruled here, and it's that kind of a thing. So it's, if you like that kind of stuff, mythos and legend, that when you actually start to look at it, you can see why these secret societies have held it back and pulled themselves apart from everything else. Yeah, and you will understand it in that way. Now, and we're not suggesting for a second that this is the truth and blah blah blah. We're exploring basically, and we're going to explore the mythos in a way that might just give you some insights that you've never actually thought of before. And it can be quite enjoyable. So it would be get your beverage going, feet up, and just you can relax for that one because there's no need to be getting excited and thinking too hard. So, House of CC's happy Sunday to all, happy Sunday to you. Paul says good evening, Sean and fellow inmates. Good evening, Paul. Mew says good evening. Sorry, good morning, afternoon, evening. Because we're international. Evening, one and all, sit up straight in the wise asylum. Well, you can relax now because the next thing is just going to be a chill along. But I think you'll see why it's an interesting gig and worth at least appraising yourself with the data. Slipknot says, alright Sean, alright everyone, alright there Trev. PY says, evening all, good evening to you Paul. Cos 1973 has got the clown and the earth. The globe, or the clown and the globe, is that what he's saying? House of CC says, warm through the day, cold at the night. Well, I've been grafting this week and I've been up early and it really did smell, taste and feel like autumn. The only thing that we're missing, which if you go back to when we were growing up, was the smell of burning leaves. You know, every park had it going, everybody had it going, you couldn't see. Nobody could see anything apart from leaf smoke. But you know what? What an atmosphere it created, and it made Blighty sort of magical in them times, and that was my impression of it. And so that's the only thing missing. It is interesting if you do, somebody's burning some timber in a log fire and you do get that whiff, it really does take you back to the 70s and 80s, which is what everybody did with the leaves back then. Anyway, where were I there? So yes, autumn is well and truly on and showing signs of the old winter. Mark Ortford says, even Sean Mew Pit, some reprehensible individual has stolen the small planters. Okay, so you're speaking to Mew? Okay. How disgraceful. Whip them. Get them whipped. Flog them. House of C says, hot water bottles, 3 for £1. Hot water bottles? Well, that's what I've been mucking about with. Michael Jr. says, hello Sean, hi. Oh, welcome to the Wise Asylum and welcome to you, sir. House of C says, handsome chap. Who is? Who's she talking about? Okay, we don't know who you're on about. Public Notice says, hello males, females, persons. Persons? Oh dear. Individuals, subjects, things, and aliens. Oh, we've got aliens as well, have we? Well, that won't surprise me. I'll be watching just to see what's cracking, see how we're getting on. But persons, this is just outrageous. You know, shame on you, Public Notice. One title says, good evening, male Sean, and to all participants. Okay. Good evening to you, sir. And Mark says, I doubt they will be used for growing food, seeing as no one was asked about them when they were here. I think we're talking about, you're talking about something with Mew, no problem. Well, if you look at what they're doing, Ukraine, Israel, all these breadbaskets, Holland, they're just attacking it from every orifice, aren't they? Farmers are getting bashed. But that's been going on since they launched CJD back in the 90s. And then foot and mouth just annihilated the stock. The foot and mouth put all the small holdings out of business across the Lake District, swiftly bought up by all the 80 types. It's very naughty. Where are we? One title says, hit the like and share. Yeah. House of C says, stay focused on what Sean is talking about. Oh, just chin-wagging a bit. God says, oh, good one, Sean. House of C, getting out of control. Okay. Sorry, we've got some pit bulls for a talk that deal with fruit bats if they arrive on the channel. June says, good evening all, and the thumbs up, good evening, June. Public Notice, I used to climb mountains and flew back down with a paraglider. Whoa, go on lad. We have a mate, PY Music and I, he's big into the paragliding. It is definitely something I'd like to have a bash at, to be honest. It's just time, but I would like to have a bash at that. We nearly did it in 80s, me and two of my amigos, that we basically used to do everything, build everything, make it, and then do it, you know, so we were into sub-aqua, all that. The last gig before I ended up with what would become my missus, we were just about to get into hang gliding, so my mate bought the book. He said, I'll read it, we'll see what crack is, we'll put it together, and I said, I'll jump off. So that was the crack, and anyway, it didn't occur because I'd started saving up to get an house and such, so maybe it saved my life, I don't know, but who cares? It would have been good fun for the moment before the splat, I'd have thought. So well done you, mate. I'm pretty gel. I'm a bit gel there. We do the old, at the moment we do the kayaking. That's groovy. And the mountain biking. Andrea of the House Fallon says, good evening, one and all. Good evening, Andrea. June says, Mythos is a lovely lager. Oh, you're in Greece? Good on you. Oh, I'm gel. I'm proper gel of you now. Oh. Well, Greece is in it. The Greeks are in it. It's quite... I'll tell you, remember, it's Mythos, it's legend. And I don't need to really say much. You'll know what I mean. You'll know what I mean when we get cracking onto it. And Mew says, I remember the smell of... Back in the late... Of what? It's coal. That was stunk. And you couldn't... That was black. No, I'm wood. You remember leaves back in day? And everybody were burning leaves all through autumn. You couldn't see shit. But yet, when you got out at countryside or on the canal, and it were all just moving, it was like, oh. You could picture Merlin stepping out from behind oak tree. Couldn't you? Speaking of which, again, Merlin's in here. So, anyway, without further ado, shall we crack on? Right, so, let's have a go funk. So, off we go. Oh, wait a minute. Just being smart again. So we don't need to do that. But right, just to show you that this is not just all fantasy. I mean, Wikipedia have a piece on the Barbello. And it says Barbello, Greek, refers to the emanation of God in several forms of Gnostic cosmogony. Barbello is often depicted as a supreme female principle, the single passive antecedent of creation in its manifoldness. The figure is also variously referred to as mother, father, hinting at her apparent androgyny. The triple androgynous name of eternal Aeon, so prominent was her place among some Gnostics that some schools were designated as Barbelliate or Barbello worshippers or Barbello Gnostics. He says, in the Apocryphon of John, a tractate in the Nag Hammadi library containing the most extensive recounting of the Sethian creation myth, the Barbello is described as the first power, the glory, Barbello, the perfect glory. In the Aeons, the glory of the revelation. All subsequent acts of creation within the divine sphere, save, crucially, that of the lowest Aeon, Sophia, and occurs through her coaction with God. The text describes her thus. This is the first thought. His image, she became the womb of everything, for it is she who is prior to them all. The mother, father, Anthropos, the Holy Spirit, the thrice male, the thrice powerful, the thrice named androgynous one, and the eternal Aeon among the invisible ones, and the first to come forth. Right, so that's just to show you that what we're about to look at isn't just nonsense, it has teeth, alright? But of course, you're not going to get it mainstream because it's the Gnostic stuff. Right, so I'll just have to check that you can actually see this correct. So I don't know how you can see that. Let me come out and have a look. Oh! Right, so I need to... Oh, I need to make it smaller. I see. Right. quite. So I put all this together and I've just turned it into a PDF, and I've actually just put it on my website just so that we can go through it, as it were. Okay, so everybody can see that. See if I can make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, is that viewable by you guys? Well, I like that. We do like that idea of paragliding, public notice. Definitely. Mew says, I had a quarter of a hand glider in the 80s, 25 pound. What fun we had trying to kill ourselves. Yeah, I know. I saw the boys crash and that was enough for me. Yeah. See, I would have definitely had a parachute on, without a doubt. So, you know. Not that it would have saved you anything less than a few hundred feet, but it would have bashed anyway. I'm sure I'd have landed on a tree. Right, great. So you can see that. Super duper. It says... So, get your feet up and have a listen to this, because it's interesting. It really is interesting stuff. And, you know, your Lord of the Rings, all this kind of mythos, it comes together. But obviously they're just using different terms, different names, etc., etc. But there is a solid backdrop to it. And it also fits in with what the self-professed member of the ruling bloodlines had to say in relation to a certain branch of historical figures. Anyway, off we go. It says, so it's just started off first with the ancient British Isles, just to give you an idea that so much of it is and was censored here as well. It says the British Isles is a grouping of islands west of Europe. It includes the island of Great Britain, the northeastern part of the island of Ireland, and many smaller islands known collectively as the British Isles. It is surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean, the North Sea, the English Channel, and the Celtic Sea, and the Irish Sea. A total area of 495 square kilometres, or 96,628 square mile. The ancient British Isles was succeeded by Avalon. Okay, so the British Isles goes way back. I found it at 350 something BC. The geographic term for these islands was the British Isles. So anything else termed British or anything like that actually comes from that. So the ancient British Isles was succeeded by Avalon. It says Paleolithic and Mesolithic people were a hunter-gatherer society. 25,000 to 6,000 BCE. It's covering. While Yahweh and the Barbaros were at war, there was a limited number of people that occupied Britain around 9,000 BCE. It has been occupied ever since. By 8,000 BCE, temperatures were higher than today and birch woodlands spread rapidly. But there was a cold spell around 6200 BCE which lasted about 150 years. The British Isles were linked to continental Europe by a territory named Doggerland. The plains of Doggerland were thought to have finally been submerged around 6000 BC. So that's when we became an island. 5900 BCE, elves and humans from Europe and Asia began arriving from Central Europe. These migrants brought new ideas leading to a radical transformation of society and landscape that has been called the Neolithic Revolution. The Neolithic period in the British Isles was characterised by the adoption of agriculture and sedentary living. To make room for the new farmland, these early agricultural communities undertook mass deforestation across the islands, dramatically and permanently transforming the landscape. At the same time, new types of stone tools requiring more skill to be produced, new technologies including polishing, and the nation of the Druids was also created. 5475 BC, Merlin Barbello. So you're noticing they all have this same second character, Barbello. So now Merlin asked the gatekeeper, Hemdal Ashera, to create Valhalla. Merlin used the demigod Heracles to build Valhalla with gigantic stones. Okay, so that's here on Blighty. In 5470 BC, the Druids began to create of giant temples in the worship to Merlin. Now, Merlin is a title. 4120 BC, the Fays come from Valhalla, and their leader Vivian creates villages and the first magic schools for humans. 4000 BCE, the Celts began to populate the north. 3800 BC, people began to lead a more settled lifestyle. Monumental collective tombs were built for the dead in the form of chambered cairns and long barrows. Flint technology produced a number of highly artistic pieces, as well as purely pragmatic, more extensive woodlands clearance was done for fields and pastures. The Sweet Track in the Somerset Levels is one of the oldest timber trackways known in Northern Europe, and among the oldest roads in the world, dated by dendrochronology to the winter of 3807 to 3806 BCE. In 2600 BC, the Bronze Age began, following the migration of new people from the continent. The Bronze Age saw a shift of emphasis from the communal to the individual and the rise of increasingly powerful elites, whose power came from the prowess as hunters and warriors and the controlling of the flow of precious resources. The ability to manipulate tin and copper into high-status bronze objects, such as swords and axes. Settlements became increasingly permanent and intensive. Anglia became bound up with the Atlantic trade system, which created a cultural continuum over a large part of Western Europe. In 2000 BC, the Britons separated from the Celtic and Druid nations and created the Briton nation, called Britannia. The people diverged into the Welsh, Cornish and Bretons. They were tied by language, religion and culture. They spoke the Brittonic or Brythonic language. 900 BC, the Britons shipped iron into Britain. 890 to 860 BC saw 30 years of war. The Cornish were asking for more iron, and the Britons refused to give it to them. Before their inhabitation in Britain, ironworking wasn't common. The Atlantic system had by this time effectively collapsed, although the Britons maintained contacts across the Channel with France, as the Falstaff culture became widespread across the country. 780 BC, the Elf and the Fae create the nation of Avalon. Stonehenge is not just a monument. Stonehenge's real name is Valhalla. It is a dimension gate that leads to the realm of Barbello. It was created in 5476 BCE by Merlin Barbello, who was in the palace of Barbello and asked the gatekeeper Hamadal Ashrath to create the Valhalla in earth. Merlin used the dimension gate and took a visit with Freya and Odin. Freya returned to Barbello with Merlin. Merlin later returned and used the demigod Heracles to build Valhalla with gigantic stones. Since 5476 BC, the people of ancient England had seen many Barbello using the gate, an army of Aeons and giants. Many have tried to destroy Valhalla but failed, including Morgana. As long as Stonehenge remains standing, we are all in danger. How about that? The Great Will. A very long time ago, no one knows how long, the Great Will somehow appeared in the void of the cosmos, an omnipotent power entity with no form having intelligence. The first act was to create nature, which was formed and bound within a set of laws that nature itself cannot break. The entity known as the Great Will is so powerful it can destroy everything, including nature, universes, galaxies, stars, etc., and create anew. So the Genesis. Some unknown time later, nature created space and time. And Jesus had said that they are children of his Father. I don't know why that's in there. Never mind. Some unknown time later, the Great Will created the Asherah, also known as the mighty gods of creation and destruction. The Great Will sent the Barbellos to earth and after a time took them back. The Great Will removed from existence Hecate Barbello when she dared to speak against it. No one knows yet if the will has a plan for the cosmos or that it suffers an enemy, something beyond it in power and force, or if it can somehow be killed or controlled. We only understand it in terms of the Great Will is the cosmic master of everything everywhere. Nature. Everything everywhere exists in perfect harmony. The 7 natural laws through which everyone and everything is governed. And those laws are attraction, polarity, rhythm, relativity, cause and effect, gender and gestation, perpetual transmutation of energy. So if you look at that, if there are the 7 natural laws, and then you look at what's being implemented in this new order, they're screwing up the idea of attraction, they're screwing up polarity with the communism, they're screwing up rhythm with the chimp music and all other associated garbage. Relativity, well, they're telling you what the points of relativity are. Cause and effect, they're creating and setting you to create causes that have a particular effect. They're completely and utterly undermining gender and gestation. And perpetual transmutation of energy, which they're then harvesting. So you can see that has some sort of semblance of fact, in the sense that you can see how they're playing with those 7 natural laws to turn it upside down. There is no priority or order or proper sequence to the numbers. They apply randomly, as does nature itself. There is no judgment within the governance or application of these. There is no seeking to punish or reward. They are impersonal, operating automatically, typically along unconscious lines. It is Hermeticism, yeah. This is Gnosticism. But it's interesting when you start... You'll see what I mean, hopefully. You'll understand why I've thought it'd be worth just at least putting it to a video. In nature, there is no rights or democracy. There is no religion or debate. Nature is not asking. A bit like Genesis 1. It doesn't come into agreement with you, does it? Nature, it goes, there you are, crack on. And then it's you've got dominion over such. That's it. There is no game. That's just it. Bump, you fell out. Here you are, and it's like, oh, what am I supposed to do here? And then there's a million ideas out there trying to say, oh, we're fantastic and amazing. Come and join us. We know what the crack is. And we're seeing the end result of that idea playing out today all around us. So, again, makes sense. Just coming from it's the same data that we've discussed all these times, but in a different paradigm, as it were. So now it's going through what it's created. So the Asherah, the Great Will created the Asherah, also known as the mighty gods of creation and destruction. The symbol of the Asherah is the Asherah pole, which is thus. So it's a tree. It has fruit. Are they grapevine? They look like vines, but it looks like a palm, doesn't it? And then it's got the glyphs of the old Hebrew. And it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pointed stars. So, I mean, that would probably break down quite interestingly, symbolically, perhaps. It says, the Asherah made nature divide the cosmos into complexity of choice and follow-ups. It is a cosmic system that creates a point of beginning under a will for every action the Asherah wish to carry out, and in a way that does not damage the current one. So their job is basically to do things new, but it hasn't to damage what's already there. You can call this omniverse and multiverse. Well, we're hearing a lot more of them kind of words, aren't we, nowadays, with this idea of the simulacrum, the simulation idea. So you can see, basically what I'm trying to say is, all this that people you've seen out there, in some of it La La Land, all has a basis, and it comes out of this Hermetic knowledge. So we're not going on and saying, oh, this is fact, and what we're just exploring, and so we can expand our awareness of where it comes from. Sometime later, the Great Will created a palace for the Asherah in the void, in Omniverse, and named it the realm of Barbello, and could also be a Menti. So if you're versed with the Emerald Tablets, you'll understand what a Menti is bringing in. The Asherah created a garden in the palace of Barbello and rooms for their needs, and sometime later they created offspring. So Barbello is a place created by nature under the direction of the Great Will, and this is where now we start to see a lot of these characters that were being classed as mythos come from. It's this place called Barbello, right? So it's, you could call it heaven, whatever you want to call it. It's a place not here, outside of here, but it's connected to here. The Asherah created a garden. Well, done that. The first offspring of the Asherah was Pistis Sophia by Belor. So the Pistis Sophia, you've all heard of that. Pistis Sophia chose the Asherah of chaos to make her offspring. Sometime later, the Great Will gave a universe to each Asherah and ordered them to choose of the Barbelos and to give them a galaxy to have control over. So the Great Will, after Sophia has created offspring with chaos, each get a galaxy to control. In our universe, the Asherah Tut is named Lord, and in our galaxy, Yahweh Barbelo is named Lord. Right? So Yahweh is part of a much bigger crew, which, when you look at Genesis 1, speaks of Elohim. Plural, lots of them, tons of them. In fact, there's an absolute shitload of them. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get across. So everything has it has a foundation from where it's come from. What you believe is entirely up to you. We're not suggesting we're trying to push forward a belief system. We're just saying this is where it all has come from. The Asherah are gods of destruction and of creation, for and within each universe. They are significantly stronger than the Barbelos, but hold less power than that afforded to nature. They can destroy a universe or a galaxy or a star or a planet, but only if they create one to take the place of the one they intend to destroy. So that where you get your destruction of a planet between Mars and Jupiter, I forget its name offhand, and pushing the Earth into this orbit, you can see where it comes from, that kind of stuff. I mean, I studied a lot of this stuff way back in mystery school, because that's what it's all about, this kind of stuff. And it is interesting, because you start to understand a lot of books that you might not otherwise understand, because you can see where it's come from. According to Jesus Barbelo, they are also prohibited from fighting each other, unless it be authorized to be carried out in a safe area. If Asherah violates these restrictions or isn't doing their job to the best of their ability, the Great Will shall erase them. The Asherah must enjoy their duty, or if not, they must still obey it. Unlike Barbelos, we have nothing to speak of as relates to things good or evil that the Asherah have carried out. Therefore, we can only guess that they choose no side, and that their role as the creative force is to keep the cosmos together. Aeons. Aeons and archaeons are not a Hellenistic deity or life, a vital force or being, a generation or a period of time or ages, forever timeless, or for eternity, century, or Mahakalpa, or souls or saints. So they're none of them. An aeon is an angel, and an archaeon is an archangel. Aeon army. However, aeons are not supernatural spiritual beings who serve God or celestial intermediaries between heaven and humanity, or protectors and guides for humans. They don't have bird wings, halos, or divine light. The aeons are servants of the realm of Barbelo, but they are Barbelo themselves. They are all children of Pistis Sophia, the mother of the Barbelos. The aeons have a hierarchy. There are the Barbelo, the Archaeon, the Seraphim, the Cherubim, the thrones of Gathas, that should be underneath, Virtue Aeon, Gatha Aeon, Styx Aeon, and Ibra Aeon, and Messenger Aeon. So that's their hierarchy. Aeons, Gatha Aeons, Styx Aeons, Ibra Aeons, and Messenger Aeons can't be killed by normal swords and weapons. However, they are all well trained in combat. Aeons are known to be shapeshifters. They can change form or pose as a friend. Therefore, aeons are used by the other Barbelos as soldiers. They are the perfect pets who execute commands with no questions asked, even if that command is to end their own existence. Yahweh. Yahweh is the God that is worshipped by the Roman Church and Zionist Christianity and also Judaism. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God. The Lord is one, yet the Gospels are a direct gateway to the Elohim and the dominion given to each individual man, or mind if you want to use that term. So Jesus is a completely different gig to Yahweh. Other names that Yahweh has taken is God, Yahweh, Tetragrammaton, the Lord, the Supreme Being, Creator, Sustainer, Jehovah. Relatives: Pistis Sophia Barbelos is his mother. Affiliation: Yahweh Barbello. Place of birth: Barbello. Species is Barbello and is male. Yahweh is one of the offspring of Pistis Sophia and the Asherah Chaos. Yahweh Barbello is one of the many Barbellos and is said to be living in the realm of Barbello. Yahweh is proven to be one of the most powerful and dangerous Barbellos. He was able to recreate the world and was able to defeat many other Barbellos in combat. History: Lord of the Galaxy. The Great Will gave a universe to each Asherah and ordered them to choose Barbellos and give them a galaxy to control. In our universe, the Asherah Tut is named Lord, and in our galaxy, Yahweh Barbello is also named Lord. Yahweh created and destroyed many worlds, and one of his creations was made upon the earth. So it wasn't the earth, see? One of his creations was made upon the earth. You've got to, 65,000 million years ago, Yahweh wanted to destroy earth. But Allah Barbello, who is second in command of galactic rule, made him change his mind, cleansed the earth of the lizards, and allowed the monkeys to rise into civilization. Right? Battle with Lucifer. 500,000 years ago, Lucifer Barbello tried to kill Yahweh and take his place to rule the galaxy in peace and not with Yahweh's cruel way. But Lucifer failed and faced Yahweh's wrath. It is said by Jesus that Yahweh killed and revived Lucifer 1,000 times in a very short time. Now, I don't know where it says that or that Jesus says it. But we are dealing with Gnosticism, so they'll obviously have it. Pistis Sophia stopped the fight and divided the galactic rule in two, Yahweh and Lucifer, to rule half of the galaxy each. Yahweh was not happy, and 30,000 years ago he tried to kill Pistis Sophia to rise above the other Barbellos and take her place. But the Great Will stopped his revolution and sent him and his followers to Earth until they repent. So are you seeing? So all that we've just spoken about weren't carried out on the earth, it was carried out up in Barbello. So that's the battle in the heavens as were. So he got stopped by the Great Will and sent him to Earth. Yeah. Until they repent. A world with animals and prehistoric man. The Barbellos divided the world into 9 kingdoms each. So this is your fallen angels. Each with a king and a queen. So all 18 gods have an equal place of power in the planetary rule over the animals and humans. Yahweh's kingdom was the kingdom of Yahweh. Very far away in the current named Cygnus constellation, a civilization of human-faced people with wings and arms of fish like tails had a civil war. The Cygnus constellation civilization of Fagintuaqua was an advanced civilization and had been at war in the solar system under the rule of a planetary prison. A group of Fijuntuqua escaped the war with a ship around 29,500 years ago, and that ship got into trouble and headed to Earth. Cronus Barbello rescued the aliens and made them his slaves. He gave them an area of land to create a nation called Atlantis. The location of Atlantis is to this day unknown. However, Jesus said that Atlantis was in the land of Lower Egypt, next to the island of Yahweh, but the city was not in the lake or the zebra forests. Later this was confirmed with scrolls found in Roman Athens and in Alexandria about a golden city in the same location about 300 generations in the past. Yahweh was furious by this development and ordered his queen Marduk to create spiritual clones of humans and archangels and sent them to destroy Atlantis. It is said that around 29,490 years ago, the Atlan War began. Marduk Barbelo was not the god of creation, water, agriculture, justice, medicine and magic. The Marduk prophecy is a lie. The relatives, she was Barbelo, affiliation Yahweh Barbelo, place of birth Barbelo, place of death Haran, species Barbelo, female. Marduk was Yahweh's wife and queen of Yahweh's kingdom. Marduk fought the Barbelos, Shiva and the aliens at Yahweh's side. After Lord Shiva's sacrifice, she was named Queen of Pythia, with Yahweh as king. About 1400 BC, the people of India created the Vedas. The Sanskrit term Veda means knowledge. Vedas are called Marai or Vyamole in parts of South India. Marai literally means hidden, a secret, a mystery. About 29,200 years ago, Noah, a human warrior of Egyptian, at the age of 32, created a rebellion with Berossus and a 23-year-old man with Zurisudra, a 39-year-old man. They stole weapons from dead Aeons, and with Noah and the people, they invaded into Marduk chambers and managed to kill Marduk Barbelo, so Yahweh's missus. This is Noah. Back in Barbelo, in 5461 BC, Yahweh made a failed revolution against Horus Barbelo and was sent back to the place of Barbelo by Merlin through the realm dimension gate Valhalla, so that's Stonehenge, where he had Heracles built the new land called Asgard. So can you see he's bringing all the mythos in, Odin, Greek, all of it. It's interesting. Yahweh's wrath. 4185 BC, Yahweh Barbelo came back to Earth from Barbelo through Valhalla with Aeon armies and giant humans. Yahweh marched in Babylon and Adil with his giants and killed everyone in his path. The immortal sorcerer Meholathite and his army of Magi's made their stand heroically, but Yahweh killed them all. 4184 BC, Yahweh arrives in Babylon. I am the only God, he says. Horus Barbelo and Odin Barbelo, so now we're in Egypt, challenged Yahweh in a combat trial, but Yahweh, with a meteor rain, killed both Horus and Odin. The other Barbelos knelt and named Yahweh king of the gods. 3600 BC, Yahweh created an arena in Babylon where humans had the chance to battle Aeons and Barbelos to gain or lose immortality. 300 BC, Dinah, daughter of Leah and Jacob, a 23-year-old woman, was raped outside the arena by Hamor Aeon. Levi and his brother Simeon fought in the arena for revenge for the rape of Dinah, and together they killed Hamor. Hamor was the first Aeon to die inside the arena. Levi and Simeon gained reputation and glory among the humans who wanted freedom. Yeah? Okay, so now you're into Judaism. 3100 BC, Tharmuth, a 19-year-old man and his troops, were in a military expedition to Aegyptopia, and there he created the city of Hermopolis and crucified all the captured Aeons. Yahweh was furious, sent Moses and an army to defeat and kill Tharmoth. After Moses departed, a group of Memphis men, with the help of the demigod Heracles, killed Moses and his giants in Arabia. Artapanus, killer of Moses, travelled to Hermopolis with Heracles to return with Tharmuth and his army to free Babylon from Yahweh. Metatron. 3099 BCE, the First Babylonian War. Metatron Barbelo led the giants in the defence of Yahweh versus the army of Heracles. In the battle, Metatron betrayed Yahweh and killed all the giants and asked Heracles to damage him with his sword. The wounded Metatron used his damaged divine wings to fly into Yahweh and tell him that the humans won. Yahweh lifted Heracles and the humans in the air and began blowing up each human mortal or immortal at once. Standing in the air, Heracles begged Metatron to help him. But Metatron said that he did not care about their lives, he just wanted to kill the giants. Angry at hearing that Yahweh had killed all the others, Heracles and began to punch the wounded Metatron. Ishtar Barbello took the chance to capture Yahweh with her chains and put him to jail. 2 days later, Metatron, now recovered, lied to Ishtar with the claim he loved her. He then cattled her wings, and Metatron took the chain Yahweh and flew into the gate Valhalla and sent him back to Barbello, both Ishtar and Yahweh. He later returned in Babylon and killed himself of the gods. Named himself King of the Gods. So that's Metatron. This is all what you'll find, but it's obviously just another picture to see of it, you know. Jesus Barbello said that when Yahweh lost and returned to Barbello, he jailed Ishtar. Solomon's seal. In 944 BC, 2 aeons, Herut and Marut, under Yahweh's orders, created a puppet posing as Solomon, and the puppet took over Solomon's kingdom. It's a bit like clones, isn't it, that we've got going on, supposedly all over here. Solomon used the ring of wisdom and punished the puppet, placing it in a bottle and threw it into the sea. Since the bottle was sealed with Solomon's seal, the puppet was helpless to free himself. Until he was freed many centuries later by a Roman legion who discovered the bottle and killed the puppet. Monkey King. On the morning of May 19, 432 BC, Sun Wukong and his companions invaded the realm of Barbello. Yahweh joined the fight, so it's brought Chinese in now, with a meteor crashing down onto Sun Wukong, who transformed into a giant ape. As they stand face to face, Yahweh and Sun Wukong glare at each other, neither willing to back down from their chosen course. Thunderous claps and bursts of lightning accompany every strike as they trade blow after devastating blow, each determined to gain the upper hand. Their abilities complement each other rather than cancel them out, creating a breathtaking spectacle that captivates all who witness it. Well, if that doesn't sound like some kind of great event in the old heavens, I don't know what. As their weapons collide, explosive shockwaves ripple through the palace of Barbello itself. The Ashura Hunaman appeared and stopped them. With a single strike, Sun Wukong and Yahweh were defeated. As the dust settled, Hanuman emerged victorious, ending the cosmic combat. The Great Will addressed the human heroes and they returned to Earth. Jesus Barbello, in 1 BCE, Jesus Barbello comes down to our world in the Roman Empire city of Nazareth. In 16 CE, Jesus had gathered followers. He taught them magic, resurrected dead people, and told stories about the Barbellos. That made Yahweh angry. So what this is saying is basically that Jesus and Yahweh were certainly not one of the same. They were enemies, which makes sense because look at the people that support Yahweh. You know, they're pretty angry people, aren't they? Let's be honest. And yeah. In 17 CE, Yahweh returns to stop Jesus. His followers tried to protect him, but Jesus said that he should fight. Yahweh killed Jesus, and Jesus' students tried to kill Yahweh with magic. Yahweh cursed 3 of the 14 to never die, and injured terribly the other 11. Yahweh said that the humans won their freedom, but this world is his. As he is the most powerful God, he then returned to Barbello. So humans were given freedom, eh? Is that what Christianity were originally? Yahweh said that the humans won their freedom. Earth's destruction. June 11th, 1509, Morgana was sent back in time from 2005. Say what? When she realised, she went back to Valhalla to attack it again with nature's full power, and by doing that she destroyed Earth. Exarte Barbello was sent by Yahweh to take the immortals to the palace of Barbello. Exarte tortured Morgana for a long time, until the Great Will commanded her to stop. Hexate dared to question the Will's decision and got herself erased by the Great Will. Yahweh moved out of the Barbello's palace gate to the outside zone of the realm and healed Morgana. Then Aphrodite tried to seduce Yahweh, but she failed. Then Yahweh restored the planet and asked they not destroy it again. Morgana tried to ask Yahweh a question about her destiny, but Yahweh sent them all back to exact locations. It was when Morgana cast her spell. So if you're not savvy with the Grail stories, especially the occult side of it, you probably won't understand that. Cronus Barbello. Cronus is one of the offspring of Pistis Sophia and the Asherah Chaos. So he, Barbello, yeah, realm of Barbello. Cronus, he was born in Barbello, Mount Othris, and his species is Barbello, or gender is male. 30,000 years ago, Yahweh tried to kill Pistis Sophia and take her place, but the Great Will stopped his revolution and sent him and his followers to Earth. Cronus was one of Yahweh's followers. 29,500 years ago, a group of Fijian Tukwa spaceship got crushed on our world Earth. Cronus rescued the aliens and made them his slaves. He gave them an area of today South Sudan to create a nation called Atlantis. Interesting. Not what comes through Greek though, that is it. Yahweh got furious by this development and ordered his Queen Marduk to create. Yep. So the Atlan War began. We've already covered that. The Atlan War. After his victory over Yahweh in the city of Jericho with the death of Zeus Barbello, Cronus decided to end once and for all the powerful Yahweh and Marduk by sending Atlantis to a full-scale attack. So Atlantis was set off to attack Yahweh and Marduk. At the same time, a young man named Shiva and his friend Vishnu liberated the military camp of Babylonia. Yahweh destroyed Babylonia with a gigantic blazing blast. Ra Barbello and his queen Anubis Barbello, Odin Barbello and Valkyrie Barbello joined the war. So you've got an intermix here. You've got Vishnu, you've got Egypt, you've got the Norse. You know what I mean? It all intertwines because it's all part of one story, but maybe it has something to do with that dividing of the languages. Everybody thinks it's their own and they're separate, when in fact, not at all. But then we're all, what are we? We're all sort of like the offshoots of all the shenanigans that's been going on forever and took it on themselves to carry it going, I suppose. Hermes Aeon attacked from the sky all the humans with a giant sphere of red energy. Shiva and Loki Barbello saved the world from destruction by swallowing the blast. After saving the world, Shiva died. Atlantis was destroyed along with all the Fijian Tukwa aliens who had the unlucky destiny to meet the gods. After Lord Shiva's sacrifice, the Barbellos were at war. The old 9 kingdoms were now only 8. Cronus was thus the king of Egyptian, with Semet Barbello as queen. That might be Sekhmet. I don't know. Death. 5476 BC on Mount Othris, Cronus Barbello ambushed Uranus Barbello, having sex with Mele Aeon, who Cronus wanted for himself. With the adamantine sickle, he sliced off the genitals of Uranus, forcing Mele to eat them. It's a bit of a badass, isn't he? Old Cronus. In so doing, the Zeus clone Barbello attacked Cronus. So it's a Zeus clone they're saying, with a magnetite rock, but Cronus killed the clone of Zeus and challenged it in the arena. Odin Barbello and Freya Barbello took the chance to kill Cronus in a friendly match. The fight took place the next morning, which ended with Odin killing Cronus. Hera Barbello, queen of the gods. Hera was not the goddess of marriage, women or family, or the protector of women during childbirth. She was not the queen of the gods on Mount Olympus. Hera was one of the offspring of Pistis Sophia. There's a data. It says 30,000 years ago, Yahweh tried to kill Pistis Sophia and take her place. But the Great Will stopped his revolution and sent him and his followers to Earth. Hera was one of Yahweh's followers. So she was one that came with him. So it's looking like fallen angels, all this stuff, isn't it? But yet, who's at the top of it? Well, Yahweh himself, according to the Gnostics. Yahweh ruled over humans and other Barbelos until Cronus Barbelo rescued the aliens and made them his slaves. And around 27968, the Atlan War began. The Atlan War, Zeus Barbelo and his queen Hera Barbelo chose Yahweh's side and made Babylonia an army centre, and his were Prometheus Aeon trained humans in weapons and the arts of war. A year later, the city of Jericho was destroyed by Atlantean weapons. Zeus and Yahweh decided to join the war, but the technology of the Fintiqua was so strong that Zeus got killed by them, and Dionysus Aeon, the second general of the Babylonian leadership, took Zeus Barbelo's dead body and made 1,000 Zeus clones in Marduk's spiritual clone factories. Hera ruled as queen of her new kingdom known as Olympia during the Atlan War, and after Lord Shiva's sacrifice she named a clone of Zeus as her king. So they must be saying there earlier that she weren't the real king of Olympia. Queen, she just managed to achieve it for a bit. Noah and Pandora. 300 years after the death of Lord Shiva, Noah, a human warrior of Egyptian, at the age of 32, began a rebellion in the city of Haran, where he sought to find Abraham, the personal slave of Yahweh. Noah and the people invaded the Marduk chambers and managed to kill Marduk Barbelo. Hermes was above them in the sky and cast a flood before it's time to kill all the humans who dared to kill Marduk. Noah, Berosus, Zizudra, and other unnamed heroes died. In paganism, many myths were created based on Noah's story, or Noah's as it's spelled there. The most famous one is the Holy Bible myth, where Noah's story was twisted, with him appearing as a lunatic man who built a ship that could store all the animals of the world in 40 days. When Hermes went to the feast and told the others about the human revolution, Yahweh rewarded Hermes with shoes, but Hera was furious and wanted to control the minds of the humans to never rise against them again. She created a fake human named Pandora and sent her to the remains of the city of Haran. Piliar Aeon took the role of Pandora's lover and led her into the family of Noah, where Pandora exploded with a blast so strong that the world turned into night for days. The people began to die of hunger. Odin, Barbelo, and other kingdoms gave up. Queen Hera won the war. On Mount Ophris, Cronus Barbelo ambushed Uranus Barbelo. Yeah, I've done that. Odin, Barbelo, and Freya. Yeah, I've done that as well. Sorry, I've obviously got things mixed up. Duplicating them here. Okay. Thor, with his hammer, runs to protect his full brother by Nijora and Scour Balbello. Freya rides into battle and she gets half slain by Sciros' blade and the other half in Odin's hand. Odin begs Hera for mercy, and so Hera killed Thor and Loki and allowed Odin and Freya to bury them with honour. Freya stands behind, and in her sorrow she asks Merlin Barbero for support. Merlin, who was in the palace of Barbelo, asked the gatekeeper Hamdela Asherah to create a Valhalla in earth. So that's okay. So this is all the wars, the Atlan Wars going, isn't it? Odin chose to join forces with Athena. Hang on a minute. Merlin, who was in the palace of Barbelo, asked the gatekeeper Amdala Asherah to create a Valhalla in earth. Merlin used the dimension gate, Valhalla, and took a visit in Freya and Odin. Freya returned to Barbelo with Merlin, and Odin chose to join forces with Athena and kill Hera and her followers. 5475 BC, Horus Barbelo, Odin, Isis Barbelo, Athena, Kratos, and Heracles, and the other warriors of Scythian wilderness, Scythians, waged a war against Hera. Hera released the Hecatoncheires and the Cyclops from the earth, where they had been imprisoned by Kronos, and 1,000 of dragons. Thus began a battle between Hera and the immortal warriors of Athena and the elves, both on the side of Odin's. Getting a bit Lord of the Rings in it, that. The war lasted 10 years, but eventually Horus avenged the death of Osiris and slew Set. Isis recovered all parts of Osiris' body and secretly buried them. Odin and Hera died doing battle with Merlin, who had somehow joined the war. Demetia Barbello. Demetia Barbello was powerful and enigmatic. She was the mother of Isis Barbello. Demetia. Isis with Demetia in Egyptian art. So, there we go. Mum and daughter. When Osiris and Isis thought to marry, Demetia opposed this union and was willing to go to great lengths to prevent it. The discord ultimately led to Osiris' death at the hands of Set Barbello. In the Horus rebellion against Hera, Demetia fought on Hera's side and killed Kratos during the battle. Heracles killed Demetia after the death of Kratos. Heracles took Demetia by surprise, with Demetia Barbello, Demetia's sister, choosing to flee rather than help Demetia. Demetra travelled through Valhalla and later the palace of Barbello. So they're sort of saying that Stonehenge was like a time gate, like you get on that, what's it called, that's on telly, a Stargate kind of stuff, innit? That's where you get it all from. I mean, you've got to take it in the sense that so many films, books, etc. over the centuries have been written on the back of this stuff. It's worth at least knowing that it actually comes together in one big story. Ra Barbello. Ra had no desire for power like the other Barbellos. Abu Simbel, so this is some pagan art. Abu Simbel Rafsal Yahweh. Yahweh Abu Simbel pagan art. So that's just a bit of art there going down. In 227-978 BC, Ra supported Yahweh's coup. So a lot of them, they're all supporting him. Because of course they came down with him, didn't we? But then they're all falling out. Ra supported Yahweh's coup against Pistis Sophia after the Great Will exiled her in Earth. Ra became the king of Egyptian kingdom, the Atlan War. 500 years later, a group of into a spaceship, yeah, we've done that, blah, 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 yeah. Yeah, done that bit. Yeah, we've done that as well. Ra became angry with Yahweh's actions and waged a war against Yahweh. However, Shiva survived from the attack with the help of Inanna Barbello. They went to the fourth kingdom of the gods in the north, known as Asgard. Odin joined Shiva's revenge against Yahweh and joined the war. Hera's Aeon, under orders of Zeus, attacked from the sky all the humans with a giant sphere of red energy named Leviathan. Atlantis was destroyed along with the Fijitukwa aliens. Ra and Anubis were also killed. After Lord Shiva's sacrifice, the Barbellos were at war. The old 9 kingdoms was now 8. Cronus named himself king of Egyptian and Semet Barbello as queen. Mythology. In pagan stories of ancient Egypt, Amun-Ra turned into a god of the sun. Anubis Barbello. Anubis had no desire for power like the other Barbellos. Anubis followed Ra, who supported Yahweh's coup against Pistis Sophia, and the Great Will exiled her in Earth. Anubis became queen of Egyptian kingdom with Ra as king. The Atlan War. Yeah, we've done that. Oh, I keep repeating that, don't I? Sorry about that. Yeah. Oh, I better proper job of that. Yeah, so we've read all that bit, so I'm just repeating stuff there. Oh, in mythology, in pagan stories of ancient Egypt, Anubis turned into being male and a god of the underworld. So, what they originally were and what they became in the old Egypt, which is not Kem, remember, the original one, which was said to have been set up by a priest king that fled Atlantis before its destruction. So that's where you get all that kind of stuff intertwining. Now, interesting, Allah. Allah is the god that is worshipped by Islam and is also known as the supreme deity with 99 names. Relatives: Pistis Sophia Barbellos. so he's a son of Pistis Sophia. Realm of Barbello, blah blah blah. Allah is one of the most powerful Barbellas. Allah is able to stop Yahweh destroying the earth. Allah is one of the many Barbellas, according to Jesus, who was not on Yahweh's side when he tried to kill Pistis Sophia, and Allah remained in the realm of Barbellos when the Great Will exiled Yahweh's attack force to earth. Why Allah wanted humanity to survive, or how Yahweh changed his mind, remains a mystery that probably will never be solved. So Allah wanted to save humanity, but Yahweh changed his mind. Or maybe Allah is saying that Allah got Yahweh to change his mind. It's not very clear that. Allah is mentioned again in much later time when the Archchaon Jibril Barbello was sent with the Archchaon Gabriel Barbello through the Valhalla Gate to continue the mission of Jesus Barbello. The Archchaons found Muhammad in 613 CE and carried out the orders of Allah. It's not known if Allah chose Muhammad or if the Archchaons somehow saw something in him. However, Muhammad misunderstood the Archchaons' words, and because of the cruelty of the Eastern Holy Roman Empire, Muhammad believed that the Archchaons were speaking about Christianity, Jesus, and the saints, who had salvaged the black stone from Artemis temple years ago. He went on to create the religion of Islam. So they say he was mistaken. Now, Aisha, his wife, also speaks in those terms. So, again, this stuff is historical. Whether it's fact or not, and we're not disputing, we're not talking about that. We're just saying that it is actually catalogued historically, this kind of stuff. But they split it all up, and they divided it up so we can't make sense of it. Asgard. The kingdom was created by Odin Barbello. The name Asgard comes from the Enochian words Aesa and Garda. The real meaning of the name Asgard was forgotten. In later times, the Vikings gave their pagan meaning as enclosure, yard, garden, and home of the gods. Thus, since then, Asgard means home of the gods. So the king is Odin, the queen is Valkyrie Barbello. Yeah. Preceded by the realm of Barbello. So it becomes what was Barbello. It's now Asgard. Succeeded by the kingdom of Babylon. Ancient Scandinavian civilization. The kingdom of Asgard was in the lands of Finland, Sweden, Ukraine and Russia. A kingdom ruled by Odin and his queen, the fierce Valkyrie Barbello. The cities and settlements within Asgard's borders were centres of both martial prowess and artistic expression. In the aftermath of the Atlan War and Pandora's explosion, Hera emerged victorious and created the kingdom of Babylon, consolidating her rule over the fallen kingdoms. Asgard too faced transformation in this era. The dynamics between the rulers shifted and they had to find their place within the order. The story of Asgard, with its gods of strength and wisdom, its warriors of valour and its legendary tales, continued to unfold, echoing across time under pagan mythology, and in a much later time was once again inspired through those who became the Vikings. Odin Barbello and Valkyrie had no desire for power like the other Barbellos, but they were teaching the humans to stand as equals. Odin supported Yahweh's coup against Pistis Sophia, leading to the Great Will. Exactly, yeah, we've done that. The Barbellos divided the world into 9 kingdoms, each with a king and a queen, so all 18 gods had equal place. Yeah, we looked at that. During the Atlan War, Inanna, Barbello and Shiva reached out to the kingdom of Lords for help. Shiva and Loki and Odin, Thor and Loki joined Shiva. After Noah's rebellion, Hera created and sent Pandora, so that kicked that off. Odin never stopped planning a coup over Hera and Yahweh. When Cronus Barbello made challenge into the arena, Odin and Freya took the chance to kill Cronus in a friendly match, and the fight took place that morning. So Odin has never stopped really trying to overtake Hera and Yahweh. Odin killed Cronus, and as the victor he asked Queen Hera a favour to stop the enslavement of the humans. Hera refused and ordered Thrym Barbella to kill both Odin and Freya. When Thrym goes in for the kiss beneath Freya's veil, he finds his eyes blinded by Loki Barbello's arrow. Thor runs to protect his brother, yeah. Blah, 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 blah. Into the battle, she gets half slain, blah, 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 blah. Odin begs Hera for mercy, so she kills Thor and Loki, but allows them to bury him. We've looked at that as well. I should have given this a bit more attention, actually. Freya stays behind, and in her sorrow, she asks Merlin Barbello for support. Merlin used the Dimension Gate Valhalla, so that's Stonehenge, remember. And Freya returned to Barbello with Merlin, and Odin chose to join forces with Athena and kill Hera and her followers. So we've done all that. Gosh, I've repeated quite a lot here. It says, after the war in 547 BCE, the kingdom of Asgard was destroyed. The native humans were trying to understand the events, and thus paganism was born. So that's interesting. So basically they're saying that, you know, these technologically advanced sorts of power bases pretty much just wiped themselves out, and then left the humans going, what? Kind of thing. Yeah, that makes sense. In these myths, Odin fought ice giants and eventually returned to Valhalla, a place in myth that is home for those that die in battle with honour. Only the greatest of the warriors can expect a place in Valhalla, readying for the final battle, Ragnarok, which is when all the heavens and everything gets destroyed. The culture and civilization of the Vikings began. With time, Odin's real story was forgotten and mentioned only in Babylonian and Egyptian walls. Mythology and paganism was later adopted in comics and movies. Odin Barbello is one of the Barbello's gods who had a stance in favour of humanity, so he's like the Enki character, creating questions about the nature of the Barbellos, which he does, doesn't it? He seems to be a bit tapped. Aliens or gods, the Barbellos, also known as the Anunnaki, are the cosmic galactic overlords who choose to be barbaric on Earth and engage in wars and conflicts. So these Barbellos are also what they call the Anunnaki, or Anuna. So you're looking at Sumer. You know, you don't get that much on Sumer, but though I did read a lot of books on Sumer back in the day, or it's actually pronounced Sumer, or Shumer, they pronounce it. There were a lot going on there. And that's before Babylon and all that. That's the earliest sort of civilization in that part of the world. Let's have a look. The Barbello is the home of the Barbellos. The first power, the glory, the divine palace, home of the gods, the womb of everything in Buddhism. The palace of Olympus mountains in Greek myths. The mother, father, the Holy Spirit. The thrice male, the thrice powerful, the thrice named androgynous one, and the eternal aeon among the invisible ones, and the first to come forth in the religions. Now then, there then is just a list of all the different Barbellos, the Jinn, you know, all this so-called mythos, theological terminology, Mercury, Metatron, Minotaur, Morpheus, Moses, Marduk, Muses, Nishanbul, Odin, Osiris, Pandora, you know, they're all in there. All of them. And this is sort of where it's come from, all this stuff. And then there's a major chronology there that goes way, way back, if you're interested in that kind of stuff. Now, I like chronologies. I used to put them together myself. It might take me a couple of years, but I just add every time I come across data for an event for a certain time, and I'd add it to these chronologies that I were creating. And it served me well back in the day in pulling things together in an order and remembering certain events and such. So that's there. I might just go back in that and just check out where I've doubled up. But if anybody's interested, that's just a PDF. I'll put the link under this video for you to look at if you so choose. But I just thought, let's have a break from all the insanity, because it's getting a bit boring, isn't it? Let's be honest. But that is interesting data to show that all these gods and goddesses in the myths, etc., actually come from one solid foundational story, and that we get in bits and parts throughout all our traditions, so that we don't actually see the full picture. But again, as I said, we're not making statements of fact. We're just exploring that exists, and so many of what we think we know actually comes from that emeticism. That, of course, everybody that's involved in one particular mindset will class as Satan as evil. It's all pagan. They have 1,000 words for it, so they don't have to look at it. So there we go. That's that shindig done. What are you guys saying about that? Emeticism, yes, not you're right. We are in an interactive video game. I mean, it's really felt like that to me times, especially when the 90s were on and there were a lot of hallucinogens going on. You definitely could feel sometimes, you get the glitch with the deja vu, and you get so many feelings like, well, this is like, oh, I've passed something, no, a prize. I've fucked that up, oh my god, I'm in trouble. Yeah, I know what you mean. And then some of the experiences I've had when I used to Dream Quest not only support that idea, but the image that I was given, well, it wasn't just an image, it was like in live, is that to a T, basically. I don't know whether that's for everybody, I don't know how it actually works, but I've always been comfortable from that Dream Quest to suggest that I know where I'm sourced, I've seen it, I've actually seen it, I've woke up in it, is probably the best. I actually awakened back to my source and saw. And it does work in sync with the idea of a video game, and that to get in it you have to have an avatar. But there's all the birth, growing thing to come along for you to awaken yourself, as it were. And all the forces are working with you. And all these sides that are going on here, there and everywhere. But and it's your choice where you're going to go, you know. Tut and Tutankhamun. So you got Ankh in it. Can you see? Oh, it's got the Ankh in it. You break it down because it's not actually spelt like that in the original. It starts to make sense if you've studied a bit of the Egyptian stuff as to how these names came about. Mew, when I started paragliding, I fell 400 feet, got the video on, took 7 seconds to hit the ground. What happened? Like, obviously, you didn't smack and splodge because you're still here chit-chatting. Excellent. I do fancy it, you know, I really do fancy it, but I wouldn't do it without a parachute, I'll tell you that now. I'm glad he came back. Good chat, Sean. Oh, good. I'm glad he went down well, because it's not everybody's cup of tea. But instead of I thought we'd have a chill out. You know what I mean? Because there is some interesting data in there. And if you haven't studied this stuff yourself, you're not going to come across it in this phone. Untied says, in the Bible, Asherah is both the Hebrew name of a pagan fertility goddess. Yeah, but they have to imprint the pagan, don't they? But as it said, paganism began when the last of these great technologically advanced strongholds were pretty much demolished. Doesn't mean that they're not the ones that disappeared to Antarctica and hiding underground, etc., to remain hidden. But the ruling bloodline guy said, or female said, that they're not here anymore. Didn't say that they're not going to return. But, I mean, that remains to be seen, doesn't it? But you can see that there's a bigger game out there. And it's so what they've done through this theological tradition we call the Bible is created a really small paradigm. And that if you dare step out of it, there are 1,000 labels and hatreds thrust at you. And it does seem to be centred around Yahweh, does it not? You look at all those that support and promote the idea. Definitely that kind of mindset going on, isn't there, amongst them? It's so who knows? Disciple of the Messiah says, peace and grace with your own family. Well, same to you, sir. Untitled says, Valhalla. Stargate. Exactly, yes. Stonehenge. Not to say that there weren't others. Usky says, aye. Giant Ape and King Kong. Yeah, well, Planet of the Apes as well. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and it's symbolic for the elites, showing you how they see you as monkeys and dangerous, and that they're all civilized, blah blah. It's all playing into that game, innit? You know, and in the Chinese theology, it's all about Monkey destroying the peach garden. You know, it's Tarshan is the mighty mountain, and the emperor, the Jade Emperor, all tied into this. And something that I've missed out of that as well is where dragons come into play. Oh no, it did talk about it. Yeah, that's right, it did. But yeah, dragons were unleashed and all this stuff. But I thought that was interesting about the cloning, because they're certainly doing that today, aren't they? I mean, to what degree? It's quite worrying. You know, if they killed off all their leaders, just sent them off to Paraguay to chill out, like George Bush went the minute he came out of office. Who knows these things? But it's there, it's interesting, and it does give you another picture to these characters that people present in a different sort of way than what they actually were. You know, these are creatures and beings that live in this place called Beblos or Heaven, and a certain group of them were kicked out and sent down here to repent. Yahweh being one of them. But then the suggestions that he went back, so did he repent? And are they trying to deal with what they set up now? But there's another thing to it as well that I thought. Is all this God thing finished? That's the story, the end, and it were man's time, as the Lord of the Rings gives it you. And the men of our eons have decided at some point way back in time that they are the gods. And hence why they're mimicking everything that was a historical context. And they've created it to position themselves up as living gods on the earth. Is that what they believe? I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't. If it is, in fact, I'd be surprised if it isn't. Because they're certainly running around like the gods. And the speak that's coming out of the orifice of the Pope and others about Schwab and his merry magic certainly fits in with that potential idea that they do have some nut jobs, and they've claimed themselves gods many centuries and aeons ago, and have kept the bloodlines together to keep that power down here through the breeding programs. So who knows? It could actually be the case, and what we're seeing out there is that battle being acted out again. So there you go, folks. I hope that made sense to you. I'll let you get on with your Sunday evening and get back to some telly or get to bed, whichever one it is. So I'll say thanks for joining. Thanks for taking part. And you know how it is. Till the next time.
electronic engineering, electronic engineering.